I still wake up often just feeling like
I can't.
I can't do this. This
Yes.
is so hard. And I'm messing it all up.
As my book states, I know it's kind of a bold title because a lot of people say not everyone can homeschool, but I came up with that title because I'm always telling people, yes, anyone can do this. And then I tell my story. And basically, the short version is that when my oldest daughter was almost 6, I ran away from an abusive husband. We kind of just left in one day and took what we could take and went to live somewhere else. And so it was kind of a drastic change in our lives. I had 2 little girls. And typically, when something like that happens, the first thing everyone says is, well, I guess you'll put your kids in school now. And I said, no, that never crossed my mind. My thought was, how do I keep homeschooling? What am I going to do now? And so obviously it was a struggle, financially, time-wise, all of that. It's a whole lot different than having a comfortable home with a happy marriage and a nice income.
Sure.
But I had the conviction overall that this was what was best for my kids. And so it was just time to figure out how to make it happen. And so I have been a single, working, very broke homeschool mom. And at that time, my girls were 6 and 2. So, I had a toddler and a kindergartner, and we did it. We made it work all kinds of different ways, and it didn't look normal at all, but we did it. And then on through the years, I experienced a lot of other things that people experience, like multiple moves and chronic illness. I've had migraines my whole life and tried everything, but sometimes you just deal with something for your whole life, and that's how migraines have been for me. And so obviously that's very disruptive to a nice school schedule. I've had multiple times where I worked part-time to help with the budget, or we had no budget. I've had small house, big house. I can't even remember all the things that I wrote in the book now, but all those obstacles that make someone think, well, this is going to mess things up. I can't homeschool. I did it, and I didn't go into it thinking I'm going to conquer this. It was just life. And, one day at a time, I learned, oh, I can do it this way. I can teach my kid to read without a curriculum. I can homeschool even though I have this horrible morning sickness that's going to last for 3 months, and actually no one's having school. And I learned so much about education, so much about raising children through all of that. And so I finally just started telling people, oh, yes, you can homeschool. Let me tell you how, let me tell you how it works. And the main thing is rethinking education. The whole thing, everything we know about education in this country is just one method, and it's not always the best one. And so that's the first 2 chapters of my book deal with getting people to understand there's so much more to education than the typical classroom that we know. That's why I like the name of your ministry, Schoolhouse Rocks, because you are just kind of blowing everything that you've ever known out, and you start over with a whole, like a blank slate on what education really is.
Yes, yes. Well, it's so interesting to hear you talk about just kind of rethinking school. And I love your testimony, and I love the title of the book, Anyone Can Homeschool, because that's really what we try to get people to understand. Everyone has a reason why they think they can't homeschool. Every single mom I've ever met, except for one, who I've talked about her before. She had her doctorate in education and wrote her dissertation on homeschooling. I was like, okay, you win the prize. You can homeschool.
Yes, yes.
But everyone has their insecurities, every mom in the world. And they're not all just insecurities. I mean, for some people like yourself, there are real reasons why you feel like you can't or shouldn't homeschool, and certainly why other people around you feel like you can't or shouldn't homeschool.
Yeah,
and
there's whether struggles.
oh yeah. I mean, you can get tons of opposition from people. You're not educated. You're a single mom. You have an illness. You have all of these things preventing you. But here's what it comes down to: if the Lord's calling you to do this, He's going to provide a way for you to do this. And so I love that about your book, is that you point people back to Scripture and back to saying, God is faithful. He is going to equip you with all that you need in order to accomplish His will. And it's not going to look perfect. It's going to be messy. You're going to have hard days. But you talked about, take it one day at a time. And that's exactly it. I don't have a ton of obstacles in my way right now for homeschooling. I have a husband who is home actually with me during the day. I mean, he works, but he's home. And so he helps me with, raising the children and with discipline and stuff. I do the school part with them, but he's here for that. And, my kids are healthy and I'm healthy. My husband's healthy. And we, things are moving pretty well for us overall. We have our struggles too. But even with that, I still wake up often just feeling like, I can't do this. This is so hard. And I'm messing it all up. And I do a homeschool podcast. I'm making a movie about homeschooling. Like my whole world is homeschooling. And I feel often I feel like this is just hard. Like I am just screwing it up.
I do too. Yes. Yeah. I've got years behind me showing me that it's possible. And I still some days think, oh, this poor kid, I'm messing him up. I'm doing this wrong. But you're not. That's the thing. And then I have to remind myself what I tell others. You're not.
Right. Well, and I think that, you think about Eve in the garden and the serpent coming and just making her believe those lies. And that's exactly what he does with us. He wants us to believe the lies. He wants us to believe that we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, we're not well enough equipped to be able to teach our children that God gave us. He gave us our kids for a reason.